Welcome back. We are expecting in the province of Ontario to hear from the Premier on Tuesday, and tougher lockdown measures are expected. Not, however, CTV News has learned, a curfew. That had been one thing that was suggested might be coming after a curfew was imposed in Quebec. Apparently, on the advice of health officials, a curfew will not be imposed in Ontario, but we do expect tougher measures to follow those that were already imposed a few weeks ago to try to stem the rising tide of COVID-19 cases. Those measures, of course, captured all non-essential retail businesses right in the all-important pre-Christmas season. Heather Reisman is the CEO of Indigo. Heather, thank you very much for being with us.
Happy to be here, Amanda.
I guess I need to start by asking what you're feeling, what you're contemplating here as you hear after going through what you've already gone through, which is lockdown measures that curtailed one of your most important period of sales, that it might be even tougher. What's top of mind for you right now?
Two things are top of mind. The one thing that is most top of mind is the extent to which all those of us who've been put into the bucket of non-essential, meaning we're not important, we don't matter, we're not relevant, which is exactly what's been said to us. It has been a huge price for all of us, massive price. One could debate, I think, whether shutting all of retail was good or bad. And I think that there's lots to ask about that. But the point is that decision was made. We have been asked to pay an enormous cost, while some have not, and in fact, have benefited. And so the first thing on our mind is, what will government do over and above the programs in place so that we are not asked to bear the full burden of this, whether it's in one operation retailer or one restaurant retailer, or it's somebody with multiple stores. What will be done so that we are not asked to bear the burden of this for all of society? That's on my mind, and on the mind of hundreds of retailers.
When you ponder that, what do you think you need? In other words, given that you were asked to bear the brunt, you have borne the brunt, what should government do, and what form might your request take for more additional aid or support or compensation, I guess is what you're really talking about here?
At the end of the day, it's compensation, and it's big. And what's been laid out both federally and provincially is simply not sufficient. Not sufficient. Not only did we lose the most important 6 weeks in Ontario, the most important 6 weeks in Manitoba, but we were also at huge minimization of traffic in those most places where we were open. For most people, this accounts for a huge amount of business and a significant amount of profit. So you lose your profit, you need that profit to invest in your business. And we now are sitting on all the merchandise we would have sold. So the answer is financial support, and big financial support. So, as I say, one can debate, did it make sense to throw everybody into those few retailers that were allowed to be open? That's debatable. But the point is, we are where we are. And now what's required is massive financial support, way more than what is currently being offered, either federally or provincially.
Have you made this suggestion? I mean, Indigo is a fair amount of clout in the market, I imagine, the ear of politicians. What kind of feedback do you get when you say compensation might be required, maybe after the fact, but that at some point a reckoning might be due for retailers that were shut down?
Right. And by the way, I just want to say that I'm not just speaking for retailers. I understand this is true for restaurants. It's true for gyms. So I just want to be clear that it is all those of us who have been so badly affected. We are currently working very hard on what that ask is going to be. But remember, as go us, so go the real estate companies in this country, so goes the city tax base, the provincial tax base, and the federal tax base. So before people decide, before government officials decide that we are truly irrelevant and that either hamstringing us in such a severe way that the absence of ability to invest just means it's a slower challenge to the business, meaning we can't keep up, or immediately for those businesses who will not be able to continue, before people just decide that that's okay, that we truly are irrelevant, we want to put the case in front of them, and we are preparing for that right now.
And do you have any sense of, I mean, obviously, Heather, one thing we've watched is that it hasn't been enough in terms of the rising number of COVID-19 cases. People aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, so we're not stopping it. We may actually be getting worse. What would you say to your fellow citizens about the need to actually get this under control? Because that's really driving the decision-making of politicians here.
So I'm not a medical person, and I would never, that's way above my pay grade. I would not comment on that. But I will say this. I would like a lot more transparency about what the research is really saying. I certainly would have a question. Did it make sense to close people down as opposed to saying you can keep 25 or 30% of traffic, throw all of that traffic into a small number of retailers? And we saw it. You reported in the news, not you, Kwa Yu, but reported in the news, is that what happened was all those stores that were open had massive traffic. So I think we'd like a lot more transparency about what worked, a lot more testing, and a better way to address this. But as I say, in terms of what's right and wrong, we need more transparency, and we need a strategy that does not shut down a huge part of the Canadian economy. And we need it fast.
And I got to ask you how Indigo's doing, Heather. I mean, it's been, obviously, this has been a terrible time. It's been a full year of terrible time. Are you able to get through it? Because it's one thing to, limp along and ask for help on the other side of it. It's another thing to actually keep your doors open.
We will get through it, but we do not intend to get through it without some help. But will we get through it? We will. But we absolutely say we are not going to bear the full, we as Indigo, but I think I speak for others, we are not going to take 100%. I mean, this is tens of millions of dollars, tens of millions for Indigo. And we need that money, right? It's not like we don't need that money to keep the business advancing so that it can thrive. And I want to see it thrive. And I do believe that Indigo is meaningful.
Heather, it is great to have you with us. It's an important voice and thought. Heather Reisman, CEO of Indigo.